Hey everyone, and welcome. We're kicking things off today with a deep dive into something I think a lot of you are going to find super valuable: boosting business engagement, specifically through email and social media marketing.
Two channels that just about every business is thinking about these days.
Exactly. And you know what's really cool? You guys sent in a ton of really interesting resources for us to dig into.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff in there.
So today we're on a mission to unearth the most actionable and maybe even a few surprising insights to give you a real edge.
I think it's fascinating how much the digital world is constantly changing. But one thing that always stays the same is that building genuine relationships with your audience, that's at the heart of engagement.
Okay, so let's start with email marketing because I think we can all agree that when it's done right, email can be a total game changer. And one thing that came up in a lot of the resources you sent was this idea of quality over quantity when it comes to building your email list. Why chase after every single email address when you can attract subscribers who are genuinely interested in what you have to offer?
Yeah, and that's where lead magnets come in, offering something valuable like a free ebook or discount code to entice people who are actually interested in what you do. It's like a VIP pass to your brand.
I like the VIP pass. So instead of blasting out generic messages, you're attracting people who are already leaning in. But what happens once you've got them on your list? How do you keep them engaged and actually opening your emails?
Personalization becomes key at that point. Segmenting your audience based on their demographics or past purchases or interests allows you to tailor your emails. It makes them feel so much more like a one-on-one conversation. There was actually one study that I saw that showed that personalized emails can increase open rates by up to 29%.
Wow, that's huge. No wonder generic emails often end up in the trash. But even before someone decides whether or not to open an email, they see the subject line, right?
Absolutely. It's
Then,
like the headline of your email. It's that first impression.
so how do we make them really stand out?
Well, your sources actually highlight some specific words that you might want to avoid because they can trigger spam filters. Things like free or buy now.
It makes you wonder how many potentially great emails are ending up in spam folders just because of a few trigger words. So, what are some tips for writing subject lines that actually grab people's attention in a good way?
Think about what would pique your own interest. Would you be more likely to open an email that's short and catchy and maybe even a little mysterious? Or one that's like crammed with exclamation points and generic promises?
Definitely the one that leaves me wanting to learn more. Now, one thing that really stood out to me in the research was the importance of mobile optimization. I mean, let's face it, most of us are glued to our phones these
Oh,
days.
for sure. That's why responsive design is so crucial for email marketing. Your email needs to automatically adjust to different screen sizes so it's easy to read and navigate on a phone. Have you ever gotten those emails where you have to like pinch and zoom just to decipher them? It's not a great experience.
Oh, totally. I've definitely abandoned plenty of emails for that very reason. There was another point in your research that I wanted to touch on. It mentioned keeping email with under 600 pixels. That sounds kind of technical. What's the significance of that?
It's all about ensuring that your email displays correctly on smaller screens. If it's too wide, it can get cut off or distorted, making it difficult to read. And you want your email to make a positive impression, right? It starts with a seamless viewing experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easy to overlook those technical details, but they can really make a difference in how your email is received. Okay, so let's talk about calls to action. Those are kind of like the next steps you want your reader to take, right?
Exactly. And your sources suggest using really strong verbs that encourage action, like think shop now or learn more. And don't underestimate the power of visuals. Make your call to action button pop with a bold color, and it can really draw the eye.
Yeah, it's almost like you're guiding them through the email experience. You're not just giving them information, you're showing them what to do with it. But what about timing? Does it really matter when you hit send?
Absolutely. Think about your own habits. When are you most likely to check your email and actually engage with it? It might not be first thing Monday morning when everyone's still catching up from the weekend.
For sure.
Your sources recommend experimenting with different send times. See what resonates best with your unique audience.
So maybe mid-morning or early afternoon on weekdays is a good starting point, but the key is to gather data and figure out what works best for your specific audience.
Exactly.
Now, one thing I was super intrigued by was the idea of email automation. I am all about working smarter, not harder, so tell me more about that.
Think of automation as your secret weapon for efficiency. You can set up pre-written sequences for things like welcome emails when someone joins your list, or abandoned cart reminders if someone leaves an item in their online shopping cart without purchasing. and post-purchase follow-ups to encourage repeat business.
I love that. But how do you prevent those automated emails from feeling impersonal? There's a fine line between helpful and robotic, right?
Right, and that's where thoughtful planning comes in. And using the right tools. Personalization tokens can automatically insert the subscriber's name or other relevant information into the email, which makes it feel so much more tailored. And you can even segment your automated sequences based on user behavior, so you're sending the most relevant messages at the right time.
That's so smart. It's like you're anticipating their needs and providing value without lifting a finger. Okay, one more email marketing gem before we move on. A/B testing. Can you break down what that is exactly?
Sure, it's basically an experiment for your emails. Let's say you're not sure which subject line will perform better. You can create two versions of your email, each with a different subject line, and send them to a small segment of your audience. Then, based on the open rates and click-through rates, you can see which subject line resonates more and use that version for your main email blast.
So it's not just about guessing what works, it's about using data to make informed decisions.
Exactly. Data is your friend. A/B testing can be applied to other elements of your email as well, like the call to action button text, the email layout, or even the send time.
It's all a continuous process of learning and refining your approach based on what your audience actually responds to. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about social media because, like all of your resources emphasize, that's where your audience is hanging out. It's like the virtual town square.
It is.
But with so many platforms and options, where do you even begin?
Well, just like with email marketing, understanding your audience is the most important thing. Who are they? Where do they spend their time online? What are their interests? What are their pain points? Once you have a really clear picture of your target audience, then you can start tailoring your social media strategy to reach them where they are.
So it's not about being on every single platform. It's about being on the platforms where your audience is most active.
Exactly. You wouldn't go to a knitting convention to promote your heavy metal band, would you?
I don't think so, no. Okay, so once you've identified the right platforms, how do you actually get people to engage with your content?
Consistency is key. Think of it like this. If you only post like once a month, your audience is going to forget you even exist. But if you show up regularly, they'll start to anticipate your content, and they'll be more likely to interact with it. And don't underestimate the power of visuals.
Oh, totally. I've definitely noticed that images and videos tend to grab my attention way more than just text-based posts. So what's the secret sauce for creating eye-catching visuals?
Using high-quality images, engaging videos, even infographics, all of that can make your content more appealing and shareable. And don't be afraid to experiment with different formats. Short-form videos like Reels or TikToks are incredibly popular right now.
It's all about capturing attention in those first few seconds, right?
Yeah.
But what about actual interaction? How do you turn those passive scrollers into active participants?
Well, engagement is a two-way street. You can't just post and ghost. Responding to comments and messages and mentions shows your audience that you're listening and that you value their input.
Yeah, it's like you're having a conversation, not just delivering a monologue.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions, run polls, or encourage user-generated content. Those are all great ways to spark conversations and get people involved. Oh, something else that came up in the research was the power of hashtags. Can you talk a little bit more about how those work?
Yeah. Hashtags act like keywords that categorize your content and make it discoverable by people who are interested in those topics. So it's like giving your content a boost in visibility.
Exactly. You can even create a branded hashtag to encourage your audience to share their own related content. Oh. It's a really great way to build a community around your brand.
No, that's cool. It's like creating your own little corner of the internet. Now, I gotta ask about influencer marketing. It seems like everyone's talking about it these days. What's the real deal with influencers?
Influencer marketing can be a really powerful tool if it's done correctly. The key is to partner with influencers whose audience aligns with your target market. Think of it as tapping into an existing community of engaged individuals who might be interested in what you have to offer. But authenticity is crucial.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some influencer partnerships that feel really forced or inauthentic. It's like you can tell they're just reading a script.
Right. So it's important to find influencers who genuinely align with your brand values and who can authentically incorporate your products or services into their content.
It's about building trust, not just buying endorsements. Speaking of fun and engaging tactics, contests and giveaways were also mentioned in your research. Why are those so effective?
I mean, who doesn't love free stuff? Contests and giveaways are such a fun way to boost engagement and generate excitement around your brand. You can encourage participants to like or share or tag friends for entries, which helps spread the word about your brand organically.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everyone involved. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to the content itself, right?
Absolutely. Content is king or queen, but it can't just be any content. It has to be valuable. Content that either educates, entertains, or ideally both.
So things like helpful tips or behind-the-scenes peeks or industry news, anything that would genuinely interest your audience. But what if you've got great content, you're posting consistently, but you're still struggling to get seen? Is paid advertising the answer?
It can be. Paid advertising can be a great way to amplify your reach and get your content in front of a wider audience. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn all allow you to target your ads very specifically, so you're not wasting money on people who aren't interested in what you have to offer.
It's about maximizing your impact, but it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, is it?
No, definitely not. Monitoring your analytics is crucial. It's like having a dashboard that shows you how your content is performing. You can track metrics like engagement rate, reach, follower growth, and website traffic, all to get a sense of what's working and what might need adjusting.
It's about being data-driven and making informed decisions based on those real insights. Now, I'm kind of fascinated by the idea of live video. What makes that such an engaging format?
Well, live video offers that sense of immediacy and authenticity that can be incredibly appealing. It's like you're inviting your audience into your world in real time. They can ask questions, they can share their thoughts, and they can really feel like they're part of the conversation.
It breaks down that barrier between the brand and the audience. But with all of these amazing tools and strategies at our disposal, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed. How do you stay ahead of the curve without getting lost in the digital whirlwind?
That's where trend spotting comes in. The digital landscape is constantly evolving, so it's important to keep an eye on new platforms, new features, and new strategies. That doesn't mean you need to jump on every trend, but it's about being aware of what's out there and assessing whether it aligns with your brand and your audience.
So be a discerning observer, not just a trend chaser.
Exactly. Keep your eyes open, experiment with new things. Don't be afraid to adapt your strategy as the digital world evolves.
That was a lot to cover for email and social media individually.
It was.
But what I'm really excited to talk about is how they can work together.
Me too. It's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore how to combine the power of email and social media to create a truly unstoppable force for boosting engagement. Welcome back, everyone. We're diving right back into our exploration of boosting business engagement, and I'm really excited to talk about this next part.
Me too. This is where it all comes together.
Because email and social media, they can each be powerful on their own, but when you combine them strategically, that's when things get really interesting.
Yeah, they unlock a whole new level of an engagement. It's like instead of working in silos, they become part of a larger ecosystem, supporting and amplifying each other.
So one of the strategies that stood out in your research was this idea of cross-promotion, using each platform as a springboard to the other.
Right. It's such a simple concept, but it's brilliant. So in your emails, include those social media icons, encourage people to connect with you on those platforms, and then on your social media, remind people to sign up for your email list, maybe tease some exclusive content or offers they'll get as subscribers.
So you're not just broadcasting your message on these separate channels, you're actively weaving them together, creating this interconnected web of engagement.
Exactly. And another powerful strategy was repurposing content. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Like, let's say you've created a fantastic blog post for your website. You could share that post in an email to your subscribers, highlighting the key takeaways. Then you could turn it into a series of like visually engaging social media posts, pulling out some quotes or creating some graphics. It's like giving your content a new outfit and introducing it to a whole new audience.
I love that. It's like a content chameleon. And one thing I thought was really smart was this idea of taking user-generated content from your social media and weaving that into your emails. It's not just you talking about how great your brand is, it's your customers singing your praises.
Social proof is so powerful. People are much more likely to trust recommendations from their peers than they are from marketing messages from company.
It's like tapping into the power of word-of-mouth marketing, but on a digital scale. And it makes your email subscribers feel like they're part of this exclusive club.
Well, speaking of exclusivity, offering special campaigns just for your email subscribers, that also came up a lot in your research.
Yeah, like things like exclusive discounts, early access to new products, behind-the-scenes sneak peeks.
Exactly. It makes your subscribers feel valued. It incentivizes people to join your email list. You can even tease those offers on social media to get people to subscribe.
It's a double whammy. But, beyond these tactical strategies, one of the things that really resonated with me in the research was just this emphasis on the human element.
Yes, absolutely. In a world that's dominated by algorithms and automation, it's easy to forget that engagement is really about connecting with real people.
Hmm.
It's about building relationships based on trust, authenticity, and shared values.
Showing up consistently, not just with your marketing messages, but with your genuine personality. Letting people see the real people behind the brand.
Right, it's about being present and engaged, not just pushing out content and hoping for the best. It's a long game, you know. Engagement is not a quick fix.
It's about cultivating those relationships over time, nurturing those connections, and building a community of people who genuinely love your brand.
Exactly. And you know something. In your experience working with so many businesses, what are some common mistakes that you see people making when they're trying to boost engagement? Where do they go wrong?
That's a great question. One of the biggest mistakes I see is treating email and social media as these totally separate things. Instead of seeing them as integrated parts of a larger marketing ecosystem, they're missing out on that synergy we were just talking about.
Yeah, they're like ships passing in the night when they could be sailing together towards the same destination. And another common mistake is focusing too much on broadcasting their own message and not enough on listening to and engaging with their audience.
Right, that two-way street. It's a conversation, not a lecture.
You got it.
Ah.
And neglecting the power of data and analytics, I see that one a lot too.
Yeah, it's like driving with your eyes closed. You have to track your progress and make adjustments along the way based on those insights.
Couldn't agree more. Data can tell you so much. What's resonating, what's not working, where you can improve. Takes the guesswork out of your strategy.
So it's about being data informed, but not data obsessed. It's about finding that balance between your gut instinct and those analytical insights.
Exactly. So if someone's feeling overwhelmed by all the different aspects of engagement that we've talked about, what's one piece of advice you would give them to help them get started?
Hmm. I would say start small. Choose one or two strategies that feel manageable and focus on mastering those before moving on to others. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's such great advice. Now let's circle back to something we briefly touched on earlier, the importance of staying on top of trends. The digital landscape is like this fast-flowing river. You have to be willing to adapt to the changing currents.
So, how do you stay informed without feeling like you're constantly playing catch up?
I recommend choosing a few reliable sources of information, whether it's industry blogs, podcasts, even just following thought leaders on social media.
So, curating your information intake instead of trying to consume everything.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try out new features, see what resonates with your audience, be willing to adapt your strategy as you learn.
Embrace that spirit of experimentation and continuous learning. Now, we've talked a lot about the how of boosting engagement, but I'm curious about the why. Why should businesses even care about engagement in the first place? What's the big picture here?
At its core, engagement is about building meaningful relationships with your audience. When people are engaged with your brand, they're more likely to pay attention to your message. They're more likely to remember you. They're more likely to become loyal customers.
So it's not just about vanity metrics, it's about building genuine connections that translate into real business results.
Exactly. And in today's world, which is only getting more competitive,
Yeah.
standing out from the noise and capturing people's attention, that's more important than ever.
So engagement is really the key to cutting through the clutter and making your brand memorable.
Absolutely. It's about creating an experience that resonates with your audience on an emotional level.
Hmm.
It makes them want to come back for more.
All right, folks, that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into boosting business engagement. Join us for part 3, where we'll explore even more advanced tactics and leave you with some final food for thought as you embark on your own engagement adventures. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into boosting business engagement, and I feel like we've covered so much ground already.
Yeah, we've really gone deep, haven't we? Email, social media, the power of combining them.
Totally. But as we've been talking about all these different approaches, one thing that keeps coming up from the research you shared is how important that human element is.
It's so true. In this digital age, it's so easy to get caught up in algorithms and automation and all of that. But at the end of the day, engagement is about connecting with real people.
Yeah, and going beyond those surface level interactions to build relationships based on authenticity and trust and those shared values. But I'm curious, when we talk about staying ahead of the curve and, constantly adapting to this ever-changing digital landscape, how do you find that balance between chasing those shiny new trends and staying true to your brand's core identity?
That's where you need to be really discerning. It's not about jumping on every single new platform or feature that pops up,
Mhm.
but taking a step back and asking yourself, Does this really align with my brand's values? Does it align with my audience's interests? Be selective, be strategic, and choose the trends that will actually enhance your engagement efforts, not just add more clutter to your digital space.
So it's like being a curator, you know,
Hmm.
carefully selecting the pieces that fit into that overall brand narrative. Now, one aspect of engagement that I think is often overlooked is the power of storytelling. It's not just about conveying information, but creating a narrative that resonates with your audience on an emotional level.
Storytelling. It's such a powerful tool for human connection, isn't it?
Mhm.
It allows you to tap into those universal experiences, those emotions that bind us together.
Exactly. And when you share your brand story, your journey, your challenges, your triumphs, you're inviting your audience to become a part of that narrative.
And the best stories, they're often the ones that are relatable. They don't have to be epic or dramatic. They just need to resonate with your audience's own experiences, their own aspirations.
It's about finding those universal threads that connect us as humans. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about the bigger picture here. We've explored all these tactical strategies for boosting engagement. But what does it actually mean to be an engaging brand in today's world? What's the ultimate goal?
That's such an important question. I think it goes beyond simply generating likes or comments or clicks. It's about fostering a sense of community, creating a space where people feel heard and valued and connected.
Using your platform to make a positive impact, not just to sell products or services.
Exactly. It's about aligning your business goals with a larger purpose, using your voice to advocate for causes you believe in, inspiring your audience to take action. It's about building a brand that people are proud to support, not just because of what you sell, but because of what you stand for.
Creating a legacy that extends beyond the bottom line.
I love that. It's about recognizing that engagement, it's not just a marketing tactic, it's a philosophy. It's a way of being in the world.
And as we conclude our deep dive, I want to leave everyone listening with one final thought to ponder. Imagine a world where businesses prioritize engagement not just as a means to an end, but as a core value. A world where every interaction with a brand feels personal and meaningful and enriching. What would that world look like? And how can you, in your own unique way, contribute to creating that world?
It's such a powerful and inspiring vision, isn't it? A reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping a more engaged and connected world.
It's about shifting our mindset from transactional to relational, from broadcasting to conversing, from selling to serving. It's about recognizing that engagement, it's not just a strategy, it's a choice, a commitment to building genuine connections that make a positive impact. So thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you walk away feeling inspired and equipped to boost your own engagement and make a real difference in the world.